Happy New Year, tabletop basketball fans. This is Rod, and as you can see by our rec room, that we have really done a great job cleaning up all of those Christmas ornaments and tree type things that come with the holiday season. Obviously, we've done a little bit of nothing, but anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about my best experiences in tabletop basketball gaming for 2022. And I'm going to begin this video with a re-review a little bit of my Rookie of the Year game. Even though this game was created in 1965, Pro Table Games Basketball, PTG Basketball, has been awarded my Rookie of the Year game for 2022. In January of last year, a group member from our Facebook group, Tabletop Basketball Board Games, named Kevin Hennessy, graciously awarded me one of these Pro Table Games basketball game sets, and I was immediately intrigued by it. To me, it looked very similar to Appa Baseball, but with basketball cards. It was just amazing. I didn't know what to expect. He awarded me the 76-77 NBA season, and I played a few games, and I ended up really liking this game, even though it's one of the dinosaur games of the 1960s. It's maybe the best one. Competing with them in that time frame were games like Nagamco, Pro Basketball, and let me get you a look at that box real quick. And there you see Nagamco. I ended up buying this from the same dealer, Big League Company in Hinckley, Minnesota. Keith is still there, 85 plus years and counting, still selling some of these games. I'm not sure if this Nagamco game is still being sold. It operates off of a spinner, and the gameplay was quite arduous and not very accurate. I did a number of initial workarounds to make the game playable, including using dice instead of the spinner, and a variety of rebound repairs and things like that. Not a great game. This game was a pioneer, though, and I'm not going to try and knock it, because for its time, it was the best available until, I believe, the 1960s brought this PTG basketball into the fold, and this game is quite simple and quite fun. Let me show you a little bit about what it's all about. Once again, a classy game box. You cannot go wrong with a box like this. It's not very big. I've got a sample setup on our gaming table here. As you can see, two teams. They offered cards from 1965-66 through about 1978-79. Quite an impressive array of cards, both NBA and ABA for the pro side, and some college basketball select teams like the top 20 or the top 30 or top 40 teams. I'll show you an example of what these cards look like up close. And there you have Billy Cunningham of the 67 76ers. He is basically, that number is activated. You roll, you can see the numbers from 11 through 66 on there. And that's basically taking Paradise like this and using the first digit, say that's 22 right there, if you can see my hand. That's 21. That's 33. So say I got a 33 on Cunningham. It's as simple as looking at his card. And on 33, he has a 34. You just match that up with the game board, also known as a floor play chart. And 34 is an automatic miss. Oop. And that's a miss, rebound to defensive center. I mean, there's some alterations there if the opposing center has a higher rebound rating and the like, but you get the picture quite quickly there. That's the simplicity of PTG basketball. PTG also has a team shot card for every team that determines possession. I feel this card is quite ingenious for the time it came about. It not only shows you players are rated S1 through S5 across the board. I did not get those cards out actually. I just put the team names, but those cards look like they kind of look like this. And each lineup has an S1 through S5, and that's all related to how many times they shot the ball, basically per 48 minutes. And each player, you put them in order, so it makes it easy to, once you hit this, to simply roll 2 dice from 2 through 12, and it'll tell you whether it's S1 or S2, through S5. And if the shot is successful, an assist would be awarded to a player. Of course, that doesn't really accurately reflect the value of a point guard, but for its time, this was one of the finest simulations of basketball. I found it relatively accurate and easy to play. The time clock is based on the amount of field goals attempted. In a nutshell, most teams in the 60s in the NBA average about 100 field goal attempts per game. And so you basically do about 200 shots, 100 shots per team per game, and then that is your ball game. So I've had some really good games with this. I started with the 1976-77 season that Kevin awarded me, but I soon mushroomed that into about 13 or 14 seasons. So as you can see, I have boxes of this stuff. I created my own custom envelopes, found some seed packets on Amazon. If anyone wants to link to that, I can give that to you. But you also have to have an inkjet printer or know how to put these envelopes on a printer to make them work. But it really makes things run slick. Also, you notice that the first 2 seasons of PTG, they have rounded corners, and it just makes the card look like an APA card, very slick and smooth, a little bit of color. The fonts are big. But after the first 2 seasons, as far as I know, they went with square corners and smaller fonts. An example is these 1970-71 cards. So you can barely even see those. I'm trying to give you the best view, but the numbers, I mean, this card may be a little bit faded. I bought this one used, but it's very difficult to see those, especially if your eyes are over 50 years old. I mean, my goodness. That's one of the few critiques I can make. Also, these corners were all square, but with the magic of a paper corner cutter, which costs about $8 or $9 on eBay. Looks a little bit like this. And the Asian writing translates to 3-in-1 corner punch. So there you go. I got sent 2 of these things. That's why one is still in the box. But following the addition of about 13 seasons, ABA, NBA, and one 73-74 NCAA, and that was kind of a blast. The college and the pro, interestingly enough, they operate off the same boards and the same gaming engine. The only difference is you adjust the amount of shots per half onto a college level 2-half schedule, 20-minute halves. And then, there's There's probably something else I'm forgetting. Oh, yeah, the number of team fouls is different per half. You shoot the front end of a 1-and-1. Different things that college has, but otherwise it seamlessly flows with your pro card. So it really, really was nice to actually play like UCLA versus NC State, David Thompson versus Bill Walton and Jamal Wilkes and that whole dynasty of UCLA. But my other indication that shot cards were too small was you can see this shot card for 71 Milwaukee, the champions of the NBA in that year. I decided to scan it, put it on a and stretch it out to the edge of the card, make my own card with some photo paper. That makes that shot card much easier to read in comparison to this green thing here. They did slowly upgrade their cards, the font size, back as the year went on. In 73 even, for instance, and here's my cool logo for the 73 Carolina Cougars, who were highly successful behind rookie coach Larry Brown. You can see that these at least have a bolder font. There's at least some nice color and nice font right there. They all come with a team roster card, so you don't lose track. It also gives playing time numbers on the card and what positions they play. Not that they don't here. Yeah, these say position forward for Billy C. This was pretty much an MVP year for Billy. The team won 57 games, almost won the whole thing, but those pesky Pacers and Slick Leonard and Mel Daniels, Freddie Lewis and gang, I think won their second straight and ABA title. So this will be a fun one to play. I have not played the 73 Cougars yet. Cunningham played another season in Carolina, but what did he have? It wasn't even a knee injury. I can't remember what his injury was in 74, but the Cougars, although they finished well, were unable to repeat their greatness. And Cunningham jumped back to the NBA's 76ers in 1975. So a whole bunch of fun gameplay to be had here. I've just scratched the surface. It made up about 5 to 6 months of the first half of the 2022 year. Really a good game considering, and it gets my rookie of the year consideration, even though it is a 50-something year old game. It's just new to me. I believe it is still available on eBay, although Keith has taken down the NBA listing for some reason. He still has the the college listing up there. He probably just would take an email or something to get in touch with him. He's a little difficult to reach, but I think it was just an error on his part. He did not put the NBA listing up. I don't think he's out of NBA seasons if anyone's interested in this game. But I've had some fun things with this. In addition to, and I didn't even put that out here on the board, one of our group members named Neil Shannon came up with a reboot of PTG basketball, a modern day one, the limited edition of 2016-2017 teams from the NBA. And I'm going to look for that for 1 second here. Here we go. Got someone like the 2016-2017 Raptors or the Cleveland Cavaliers with some guy named LeBron. Let's give you an example of what these reboot cards are. There's also a reboot set of boards that go with these cards, but he livened them up with some color. There's LeBron right there. And a whole lineup, I think just 10-man teams. These things would be an arduous task to try and do a whole league of these with 30 teams in the NBA right now. But I think he went with, I can't remember if he went with 8 playoff teams, I believe, maybe the top 8 teams. They're a little bit different in that the three-point shot is far more prevalent, and I think he made 13 an automatic three-point make, like an 11 and 66 there. They have 13s. because there were so many three-point shots made. But anyway, that kind of brings PTG into the contemporary world. And yeah, as you can see, there's like the Jazz and Rockets. Once again, I made envelopes for every one of these, being anal retentive and just having some fun with it. It actually is definitely live. It definitely adds spice to the game, makes it fun, easy to put away, easy to find when you need to get some cards. There were some extra cards. He reissued a certain number of cards after playing some test games, so I just called them the kind of the Neil Shannon first issue cards. So anyway, that is definitely my rookie of the year game. Amazing it took me that long to discover it. I got back into basketball gaming on the tabletop back in about 2019, came up with the tabletop basketball board games site. So yeah, this game will definitely be played more as the years go on. I have a couple other games I'd like to review, and I will have one coming up very soon. I'd like to close this edition wishing everyone a happy new year. And I wanted to let you know I want to do a quick book review of an ancient book, as you may see in the left corner of the screen. This is my 1991 edition of Loose Balls by Terry Pluto. Terry Pluto may be one of the finest authors of professional basketball our country has ever had. A lot of talk when you're talking about the ABA, which I've really recently re-adopted this year, just as a game playing fun place, because the players, I was too young to follow that. My first set of basketball cards was in 1976, but this game has, PTG was a great game because they offered ABA seasons. One of my favorite games, Fast Break, Pro Basketball by Jim Mickey. They just by the time they just were going to go with ABA, the ABA disbanded or merged with the NBA. So this book, Loose Balls by Terry Pluto, I know you've probably heard of it, but the greatest part about it is he basically doesn't just write. He has stuff in italics that talk about him. He narrates the book a little bit, but he basically went to each and every player, and say you got Johnny Red Kerr here, or George Irvine, or Rick Barry, or Dr. J, and he gets quotes about Hal Thomas Sherry, GMs, players, the crazy spirits of St. Louis, John Y. Brown, the Kentucky Fried Chicken magnate, just the personalities of the game. This book has it all. This is the greatest compilation of American Basketball Association data and basketball lore put together. And you got to think, this book came out in about 1990, about 15 years after the league had disbanded. And Terry didn't have access to internet. He did not have access to all of the data resources we have today. And he put this thing together, and it is a marvelous piece of work. It's just fun to read. It's a new league. I swear, once you read something like this, you'll be addicted to ABA basketball, because these guys still are alive and well on our tabletops. There's so many good players. And it's not just the guys that made it to the NBA when they merged. It wasn't just Dr. J, George McGinnis, George Gervin, James Silas. The list goes on and on. Bobby Jones, David Thompson. I mean, there's just so many good players that came to the NBA. By the end of the ABA's run, the quality of basketball in the ABA was pretty close to the NBA, if not equal. And this book also touches on the original players, the Steve Snapper Joneses, the Gerald Govans, the Connie Hawkins, Rick Barry breakthrough players that were there from the first or second year the league existed. It talks about those type of guys as well. Those guys were just as important as the more well-known guys that have actually, persevered in the NBA. So anyway, I recommend this book. It is, you know, in the hardcover edition's over 430 pages. It's got photos, it's got everything. So it's pretty much, this was the second, I just finished reading it. And there's the great Roger Brown, who nobody knows about. He's in the Hall of Fame. Willie Wise, Bobby Slick Leonard, Hall of Fame coach. The crazy Pacers. There's Cunningham again. Byron Beck, one of the players who lasted the whole time. Louis Dampier, who loved to fire the ball up from three-point land. It's just a fantastic, fantastic book besides the photos. So anyway, that'll do it for this quick video. There will be more to come. I hope to do many during the 2023 calendar year on various topics, and just have a whole lot of fun. I hope you'll tune in. If you subscribe to my channel, it's not going to make that big a difference, but it also gives me an indicator of who's out there watching. I notice that over half the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So anyway, have a good day, and there will be more videos to come, and happy gaming.